All right, what is up, everybody? Shadow Scout 0013 reporting in for another list build. This time, I'm going to be going over a suppressive list for Empire because of the new rules, basically expressing suppression and when you're suppressed and when you're panicked and what happens when you're panicked. I kind of wanted to come up with a few lists that can play off suppression and that, you know, the fact that suppression is going to have your opponent drop whatever objective they have, period. Or if they are in a scoring position based off of the objective card, if they are panicked, then they don't count towards the objective on the card. So if you had a unit in your deployment zone for breakthrough, and then they became panicked, they can't count towards that objective's victory point. So they wouldn't count. So with the new rules and with you actually having to check all the time if a unit is panicked, then things are changed. So this unit could have already gone from my understanding. And with the rules being so new, if I am wrong with this at the moment, definitely leave it down below. If you want to be, and side note, I'll go ahead and say this now. If you want to be entered in to win the $20 gift card that I will be announcing in February, all you have to do technically anymore right now is just leave a comment and be a subscriber. That's all. That's the only two things that I need from you from now on is just be a subscriber and just leave a comment down below. Doesn't matter what it is. If it's, something leading to another rules or more things are going to be changed in the rules I've heard soon, shortly, just to make sure that it's all updated and they don't have to keep waiting and, updating things in blue. So I'm excited to kind of see what those fixes are going to be. But just in the meantime, based off of suppression, if a unit is panicked, you're always checking to see if a unit is panicked. So that doesn't mean after the rally step, that's when they're panicked and then they're panicked for the rest of the round. It's even after they gone, I'm assuming, if they eventually get double their courage value and are panicked, then it's panicked. So then it can't count for objectives and it has to drop an objective if it has one. So with that being the rules, I'll explain kind of what these lists can do and kind of what you can focus on with these lists, especially dealing with suppression. And yeah, and if I'm wrong, just with anything, especially when it comes to the new suppression rule and panic rule, leave it down below. That way, anyone who does watch this video can kind of actually get another idea of, what to make sure they're looking out for when they do play this list. Because multiple voices are better than one. And eventually, if I can grow a team or grow the amount of people that I have helping and doing stuff with this channel, then that would be great. And, it would be way better than just one man's opinion. But, yeah, just let me know in the comments down below if you've got anything to add. So first, just for a few things and housekeeping things, I have a Patreon in case you guys want to help donate to the channel and just help me make more of these videos and kind of do better. I'm about to get some help with OBS and I'm already kind of checking it out and trying to do what I can to set some stuff up. And I've got a friend who's going to be helping me with that. And so hopefully, the video is going to look better. It won't be on Zoom anymore. So I apologize for that, but I wanted to get at least something out to you guys. And I'm going to come out with a double Jedi list, obviously Anakin and Obi-Wan, kind of talk about a strategy with that list and what you can do. And then in the meantime, I'm going to hopefully try and get some little strategy videos or kind of unit breakdowns and kind of talk about maybe what's really good to put on them and how you can use them and stuff. And it won't be very long. It'll just be kind of short, but yeah, hopefully it's going to be on there soon for you guys to enjoy. So there are multiple tiers. Feel free to sign up and donate what you can. Every little bit helps. And, I want to be here for you guys, period. The other way that you can just look at stuff and be a part of the channel is go to the Discord, Clan of Shadows. And, Blackened Heart, all these people, especially Emperor Atlantis, who helps out so much, especially with the CIS and GAR lists. Amazing. He's helping, with a bunch of people. I love the fact that you guys are always trying to post lists and get feedback and or just kind of in general, talk about stuff and you hang out with each other in here. It's always nice to see. And then the Chosen One always coming in clutch with Emperor Atlantis. And yeah, feel free to again, post your pictures in here at all. And some people have been doing, some extra work here and finishing up some things. It's just fun. It's just good to hear you guys talk a lot. And yes, I have been loving the memes on Facebook with the new cover rules that I'm assuming hopefully will be fixed at some point soon. And, I have to, if you haven't already, go ahead and head to theburnacademy.com to subscribe for $15 a month. And you get 3, 4, 5, and 6 day week workout programs that are all 3 months long. So you actually have a lot of stuff to do. There's corrective exercise program in case you've ever had any shoulder or hip or knee stuff injuries in the past. It kind of helps you get back into it. At-home workouts, 30-minute torture program in case you're short on time. You can only do 30 minutes. Abs program, and then 120 different recipes, ways to track your progress to make sure that you're actually making progress. And it graphs it out for you so you can kind of see everything. And then if you want to message me about anything on there through the app, then you can just message me through the app. So yeah, so let's get into it. So suppression. I should have brought this up, and I guess I can just quickly do it now for you guys because I know that, it kind of could be a little bit easier to understand. So if you haven't already, you can go ahead and go to Google, go to Atomic Mass Games, and then you can click there to find the Legion documents. And I think it is Control Find for suppression. Yeah. So let's see. Suppression. Okay. So they're going to have, every courage value on the card is on the top right, pretty much. And this is saying when a unit has a number of suppression tokens equal to or greater than its courage value, it is suppressed. So that's going to immediately trigger, like after the rally step, if you've got Commander Vader, he's got compel / Krennic has compel. After the rally step, if they're suppressed, meaning that they have suppression tokens equal to or greater than its courage value, then you can use compel. If a unit has a number of suppression tokens that is equal to or greater than double its courage value, it is panicked. And it specifically doesn't say at the beginning or end or whenever. It just says if a unit has a number of suppression tokens equal to or greater than the double its courage value, it is panicked. So that means that panicked units have to drop whatever objective they have, hostage or recover the supplies, and that they do not count towards objectives on the cards. So let's kind of look at these. I've got Director Krennic on here. I'm going to have lead by example so that he's actually good for something, and electro binoculars to make sure he's actually good for something other than just standing there, and strict orders because we want to take off as much suppression as we can because one of his command cards, his 3-pip, actually gives suppression to every trooper unit, so including your own army. So having strict orders and giving out a ton of the orders that time can kind of help. And then electro binoculars, just to kind of give out that aim again. Yeah, so Director Krennic, he's got compel. So after another friendly unit at range 1 to 2 rallies, if it is suppressed but not panicked, it can gain suppression token to perform a free action. So this is going to be tough because you're going to have to give yourself a suppression, which could eventually make you panicked there and in general. So you might have to just kind of use this sparingly, but it actually is okay to use if you absolutely have to. Cunning, that way when you play your commander-specific command cards, you're going to have priority and go first if you have a tie. The Entourage Imperial Death Troopers, which is going to give the Death Troopers an order during the giving out orders phase for free. You're just going ahead and giving it to them. And then Sharpshooter 1, that way if he has to shoot his single rainbow at range 1 to 2, close range, he's going to have Pierce 1, which is really, really good. And then he surges to crit with that single rainbow. He surges on defense because he's got a white defense dice. He's only courage 2, so your commander courage is really, really, really low. So from now on, you're kind of going to want 3 courage, level 3 courage on your commanders. You're going to want that, or ways to make sure you get suppression off of your guys, which is why I have lead by example. and strict orders. That way you're trying to clear as much suppression as you can. I've got two death troopers. Now, because of entourage, one of these death troopers, you can pretend it's like just says one on there because it's not going to count towards your max or minimums. So it's just kind of nice to have. You could actually technically do these two death troopers and another two sniper strike teams and have 4 special forces. That's another option for you, but I'll kind of show that to you, but I'm gonna go over this one at the moment. I have a comms relay on one of the death troopers because whenever you are giving that order from entourage to the death troopers, you could use that comms relay to give maybe the shore troopers an order which can coordinate to the mortar. So you'd have at least a shore and a mortar with an order. The shores would gain an aim due to target 1. And then maybe when you do give out all of your orders, at least you've got one mortar who can fire support in case you need it. But again, you got to be careful with fire support here because you're actually losing out on a suppression token because you shoot with, the shore troopers and then you shoot with the mortar. That's only still 2 suppression for that attack. But if you separated it out and didn't fire support, you got a suppression from the shore troopers, and then the mortars are suppressive, so they give out 2. So then you'd actually have 3 suppression on that unit instead of just 2. So it's a give and take. But if you really got to use fire support, you can definitely use fire support now because of the pass mechanic. Then I also gave them the E11D config to make sure that they shoot with a suppressive weapon at range 1 to 4. So that's always nice to have, and then you can always recover. I have Bosk here, who also has a suppressive gun, always, naturally. And I gave him offensive push and hunter, mostly because, and targeting scopes. Because targeting scopes should always be pretty much stapled on him because of those white dice and how many he's shooting. And hunter should always be on him pretty much for the most part because you're going to need those aims. I also gave offensive push just because if he wanted to have it, he can. You don't necessarily have to, but you've got 8 points left, and you can do anything you want with those 8 points. But you're not going to have enough because it would be 9. Well, yeah, 4 points each for targeting scopes, and you have 3 shore troopers. So maybe you give them those. With the death troopers, maybe you give the death troopers a few different things. Maybe you don't necessarily need environmental gear. Maybe grappling hooks if you really wanted to start climbing and scaling, but for the most part, you got 8 points. You can kind of do what you want. Now, with the new ties rule, it's whoever has, I guess, less of a bid wins. It's like red player, I'm assuming, but it's not red player because if you were hide some, I don't know. It basically whoever has closer to 800 is going to win a tie. So it's actually not too worth it to have a huge bid anymore. Yeah, the game's kind of changed. So it is actually good to be red player, but then it's good to be blue player because you're going to bring in all of the, objectives and stuff. And your list is literally built for those objectives. But, if you can start building a list that can be useful in any situation, I'm going to try to actually do that for the Patreon and try to come out eventually with lists that are going to be good for in each situation as much as possible. And I've got that coming up soon. And yeah, so if you haven't already, go ahead and go to that Patreon. Now, I have 3 shores and 3 mortars with this. Again, giving yourself those 6 core units. You've got kind of some courage 2 here, courage 2 here, courage 2 all of here. So you only have 3 units that are courage 1, so that's not too bad. The voracious ambition is always good because you're going to be able to pick 3 tokens and then lay them face down and choose them whenever you want. I went with covert observation instead of merciless munitions, which I think is Bosk's 1 pip with the Dioxys mine. And if you wanted to use this list, you don't have to use this one. The only reason I did it was because while an opponent is issuing orders with a command card, each unit that is issued an order with that card gains a suppression token. and this is a suppressive list, and so you're trying to dish out as much suppression as you can. So that's why I did it. Now it's for an operative or special forces. So there's two things you can do with that. You can give to Bosk, which is always nice because he's the only, operative in there. So if you want to use him at a good time, then that's a good time to use him. In case you did want to go here, we'll put CZ initiative on him just in case. You wanted to use him at a different time. Or with, covert observation, you can give it to the Death Troopers. The comms relay, they can use the comms relay to give that order to maybe the Shores and the Mortar, and then you just give that covert observation to the Death Troopers. Or another, the Death Troopers get an order from Entourage, and then you give it to the other Death Troopers. So now both your Death Troopers have the orders. And there's multiple ways to be able to use it, and that's okay. But the other thing is you're giving out a free suppression to hopefully 3 or so units, maybe one, because you're always at least going to get a suppression on one card. So unless you're playing Shadow Collective, and then when they don't give out any orders, well, you're kind of screwed at that point. So, you just got to be careful if you're playing that card against Shadow Collective, you're probably not giving out any suppression, possibly, unless you're giving out suppression to Maul or Gar Saxon, because they're at least going to give an order to themselves if they do have to give an order. So hopefully you get it, you lay that down on that turn. I went with Deploy the Garrison because you're giving it to 2 troopers and they're going to gain a standby, which is really nice. And if the Death Troopers gain a standby, perform a standby, they get a free aim. So, yeah. But hopefully they don't get any suppression or force pushed, because that'll lose their standby. But it's not bad to have in case, especially when you really, really need it. Reptilian Rampage to make sure that Boss gets those 2 attack actions when he needs to. And then Annihilation looms for sure. So each trooper unit gains 1 suppression token. If it is round 5 or 6, each trooper unit gains 1 additional suppression. So 2 suppression tokens for every unit. And so maybe you use this, when if you did have breakthrough. So I'm gonna see which ones I didn't have the objectives yet necessarily for this one, because I can kind of go over that if you want to later in a way, but I'll just kind of set it on there, and whenever you click in the description for this list, I'll already have them up there. But if you are playing breakthrough or something like that, or maybe someone's carrying an objective and it's the end of the game and maybe it's recover the supplies, okay, your opponent has gone behind a building with the supplies. If the commander is panicked, you can't use the courage value of that commander for everyone else. So maybe there was a way that you had maybe 2 suppression on a commander at the end of the 4th or 5th round, and then you lay that card. Now they've got 4. They can't use their courage value at all. And then this puts another 2 suppression at the very end of the game on maybe the core units that have an objective. Well, they've got courage 1. Now they've got double the courage or double the suppression of their courage value, and you can't use a commander's courage value. They're dropping the order, or they're dropping the objective because they're panicked. Now eventually they might roll that stuff off, but then yeah. I'm still kind of figuring out, if you're checking to see if they are panicked at any time and they don't have a suppression, whenever they are panicked and they lose both of their actions. So I'm kind of still a little bit confused on that part, but at least you're dishing out suppression. That's what I know. So leave it down below in the comments about, if a unit has already gone and already done their rally step, they have a face down order token, but now they're gaining more suppression. They're going to be panicked because you're checking to see if they're panicked at any time, they'll drop their stuff. And then I know that if they're panicked, eventually, after their rally step, then they'll lose the amount of suppression that their courage value is. Yeah, so I'm still looking into it. I'm about to play a game in probably a few weeks, I think 2 weeks, and I'll be able to get that battle report hopefully up as soon as I can. But yeah, okay, so that's basically it. You're just trying to dish out suppression as much as you can with this, and this list does it. Now, I have a 500-point version of it in a way that's a little bit different. Still has Krennic with Levi Example and Electric Binoculars. You've got at least 1 Death Trooper with the config, so it's suppressive. You've got the Short Troopers with the heavy. You've got the Mortar, which is going to be suppressive. And then you have the ATST With the grenade launcher, it doesn't have the mortar because honestly, you're really not going to be that far. You're moving the ATST in a little bit, mostly for that grenade launcher for sure. But the mortar is probably going to stay in the back because it's not going to want to move. It's got cumbersome. So now it can technically shoot and then move, but yeah, just it kind of depends on the objective that you're playing. Keeping them in the back and trying to shoot is actually not that bad, especially if you're playing attrition. And at least he's going to be the back, and then the ATSD might hopefully be one of the last things to die too. But that's 5 activations, 500 points, and yeah, pretty simple, pretty self-explanatory. It's just you're trying to dish out suppression. You've got an ATSD instead of a force user to kind of go after that force user, because yeah, might be screwed against a few heavy stuff, which is why that the grenade launcher's in there for that blast. Now, Veers' battle, Blizzard Force, I should say. There's 11 activations at 799. It's specifically just to dish out suppression again. That's all you're trying to do. I had some bikes in here, so you don't necessarily need evasive maneuvers because it's for vehicles only, and these E-Weps are not vehicles, so you can go with the other 2-pip that is basically, let's see if I can go to it. Getting rid of evasive maneuvers and go with pin down. All right. So yeah, the Veers has strict orders to get rid of some suppression. He's already got Inspire 1, so that's going to help. The Imperial Officer also has Inspire 1, and now she's got the Electro Binoculars to be able to give out 2 aims, just like Veers. You've got your heavy response team with, well, you don't necessarily need the T21. You might want this one, which is probably going to save you some points. Yeah. Now I got 5 extra points to kind of do with what you want. You might be able to use those 5 points somewhere else. I'll see. But I've got some sonic imploders in there because they are suppressive grenades. And yeah, it's not that bad. And you're surging, so it's black with surge at range 1, just in case you need to give out more suppression. You've got the EWEBs with the barrage because the barrage generator is suppressive. And then the ATST's got the mortar launcher and everything in it with general vice so that you can do as many attacks as possible each time. And that grenade launcher is going to make sure that no one has cover, period, no matter where you're at, if you're at range 1 to 2. So that's really, really nice. Until that gets all covered and fixed. But the Blizzard Force, their cards are pretty much great for suppression anyway. So you have, Overwhelming Barrage is suppressive, and it's Beam 1 and Blast. You have Unrelenting Fire, which basically enemy units cannot remove more than 1 suppression token during the rally step. So if they again have a supply or the hostage or in there with breakthrough, or they're in, intercept transmissions, basically they're not going to count towards that objective because they are suppressed. And if you did that at the very, very end, after putting as much suppression on them as possible, making sure that, by the last turn, there's no way that they can pick up the objective. This is kind of like almost an automatic win on the 6th round, if I'm not mistaken, because after the rally step, maybe they've got 5 suppression on them and they're courage 2, which means they're panicked. They're going to be able to remove 1, but they're still panicked. So if you can rack up the suppression, either from, Debark for Ground Assault, which gives your core units the suppressive keyword, it's basically your Stormtrooper heavy units here are going to have suppressive. And if you split fire, you're dishing out a ton of suppression to everybody. And then your E-Webs are suppressive. Your ATST has that rock grenade or mortar, I should say. You're dishing out a lot, so that's not that bad. So yeah, that's just kind of just Veers himself. Now I think I do have the classic Operative Vader and the 4 bikes. I've got Sonic Imploders on these Snowtroopers. You've got your heavy response teams. You got your Vader with Into the Fray because of the new, you can't use deflect in melee, and you can't gain that surge to defense basically anymore. So Into the Fray is going to be very, very helpful. And it was a hard choice to choose either for Ground Assault and Master of Evil, because Master of Evil, whenever you have Vader, he's going to dish out 3 suppression tokens at enemy units of range at range 1 to 2 of him. So talk about a suppressive dude. He's going to be able to do a lot for that. It's just you're kind of missing out on his 3-pip that gives him reliable 2, which is why it's going to be very, very important to have Into the Fray on him if you can. It's almost going to kind of be these two, I feel like, are going to be stapled onto him from now on, which is good. I mean, it's not bad. He's got a really good. Darth Vader's just really good in general. On a side note, just in the future, one of his 1-pips. I'll go ahead and just do that real quick. One of his 1-pips with Vader's Might. Choose another non-heavy unit at range 1. You're not going to be able to use this against Dark Troopers because they're a heavy. You're not going to be able to just Vader's Might Dark Troopers. I don't know. That's a little weird, in my opinion, but that's again me. All right. So yeah, this is kind of a suppressive list. You've got 4 speeder bikes. They're not suppressive, but they're going to be able to shoot a lot and far away. It's just a good classic. You can't pass it up. And then just a simple suppressive Darth Vader commander skirmish list. Now, I gave the barrage generators to the E-webs, and the reason I did E-webs again was because you can start playing defensively because if you can dish out suppression and just make sure somehow that your opponent is just unable to do anything for a while, then you can win on that suppression. So I'm going to be interested to see what kind of suppressive lists people come out with. But with Darth Vader having the infinite courage, as long as you keep people within him, no one's going to be panicking, and so you're always keeping the objectives, if I'm not mistaken. So I say that a lot, but because the new suppression rules, I'm still trying to possibly grasp it. I think I've got a good understanding of it, but I don't want to be wrong on here for you guys, and I want to do what I can to be right. So if there's anything ever wrong, definitely leave it in the comments below, because then I won't repeat it ever again. And then again, with Darth Vader having the aggressive tactics on here to kind of give himself that surge, because again, it's Blizzard Force, and you're probably going to want his 3-pips that allow him to, for the Stormtrooper response teams to gain suppressive if you want. But you don't have to, because it's skirmish, so actually probably it would be better just to have his 3-pips. Overwhelming barrage for sure, and fear of dead men, because you're going to be getting close, and then unrelenting fire and implacable. Yeah. You're not guaranteed to win, but with Vader going ham with 8 wound threshold, I put saber throw because he doesn't have any kind of ranged attack, and it's 3 red still. If you give yourself an order, you're going to have aggressive tactics, so you're going to be able to give yourself at least a surge. And then with reliable 2, you have 3 surges all the time, and then you could use those other surges for defense, which is why I have it on there. It's because if it's especially attrition, with the amount of surges that people can roll on red, it's nice to kind of have that. So yeah. All right, guys. And again, because you might just give it to Vader here. You're giving it to Vader and 2 here. You're giving it to at least 2 units. Doesn't have to be Vader. Fear and Dead Men, you're going to give at least him the only one. And Unrelenting Fire is also 2 units. So you're, for the most part, there's only 3 cards. Yeah, there's 3 cards that just give it to him, and 3 cards to give it to a lot of other people. So it's not the worst thing to have the aggressive tactics on there, in my opinion. But yeah, guys, that is it. Definitely comment down below anything that you have to add about suppression, your thoughts about suppression, because it's also going to help you get entered in to win $20 at the end of the month. And definitely be a subscriber. And those are the only 2 requirements for you to win. If you haven't, go ahead and head to the Patreon, because I'm just making GAR videos right now until more people decide who are not GAR players, to join to join the Patreon. I cannot talk for some reason. And go ahead and head to the Discord. That's free. That's easy. And, it's really nice for people asking for feedback. And especially, I've got a personal training job in person where I go to a studio and train people. And then I've got my online business that I'm periodically updating. And, I've got virtual clients. I've got people who have stuff on the app that they do. And then I go and train some of them outside of the studio. I am studying right now for my drone pilot license, and I'm almost hopefully done with that. And then I am definitely trying to keep up with the Patreon and do what I can for Star Wars Legion and come up with lists, which is why I love having the feedback and even people, have stuff that they kind of want to see. And I'm looking at it and, trying to come up with the best stuff for you guys. And yeah, hopefully, you guys enjoy it. And then for workouts, it's nice to see at least some people signing up for workouts. And yeah, it's only $15 a month to have all the different things in an app at your disposal. And I also don't want to forget the real MVPs who are helping out the channel, Juan and Kitsune. I really, really appreciate your help. And anyone else who also wants to donate in Patreon, this is where you'll be. So Special Forces Leader Kitsune and Shadow Commander Juan, I really, really appreciate all of the stuff that you've done already, the just talking and, donating. You guys are awesome, and I really, really appreciate you guys. And everyone else who wants to join the Patreon, go ahead and join that Patreon. And yeah, see your name up here and get some extra little videos and whatever else I come out with. All right, guys, I will catch you guys in the next video. Y'all have a great day, and may the force be with you.